Starts off.
Okay, sounds perfect. Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys showing up to hear about this. I know that it's something that both Bill and I are very excited about, and we really just have created this turnkey system to really help business owners like yourselves. So as you'll see right here, our business is helping out small communities like yourself, especially we're energy specialists, and we're in the business right now of helping Harvard businesses go solar for free. That's what we're here to explain to you guys, and the presentation is going to do a lot of the explaining for us. So the mission of Free Source Solar here is to provide the educational and financial tools that enable businesses and government entities to gain their energy independence through renewable energy solutions. So you guys have heard a lot about renewable energy, a lot about going green. Illinois has got a lot of different goals, and our goal is to really just maximize those things for people like yourselves. So our team, my name is Josh Wakeman, co-founder of Free Source Solar. Over here you've got Bill Brudenell. He's another co-founder of Free Source Solar. I mean, Bill's got more than 20 years in the energy industry, ranging from deregulated energy all the way up through now solar. Installers that we're using, we use a company called Quality Solar. They're also partners of ours. You're going to see up here, you're going to see, we've got them on our shirts here, but Drew Collum, we actually just had lunch with him. Have another commercial project going in Libertyville, working with both he and his business partner, Kevin Goodwin. They're very experienced installers. They now are up to, this says 800, but in talking with them today, they're now up over 1,000 installs. So very busy group. They do a fantastic job. And what you're going to notice too, and as you guys get to know us, we don't cut any corners. We only use premium products across the board, and that's the same that we do with the people that we work with. These guys are top notch. So why Harvard? Well, there's a couple reasons actually. Harvard actually qualifies for the most incentives. Literally, if you look at anywhere in Illinois, what ends up happening if you look at all the different incentive graphs and you basically, if you were to take those maps and lay them on top of each other, there are only a handful of different places here in Illinois that qualify for literally everything. Harvard is one of those places, and you're going to see a map up here coming up of exactly what that means. And so one of the biggest parts of this though is that you have a very high probability of receiving what's called a REAP grant. The REAP grant actually covers 50% of the cost of going solar. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the REAP grant, but that is a big part, and it's because you're in what they call a disadvantaged community, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here coming up. One other major part, a 10% tax credit for being in an energy community. That just means that this was an area that's within a certain distance of what used to be basically coal-powered and fossil fuel-powered areas. A lot of different areas up here in the Chicagoland area and outside of that all qualify for this extra 10%, including you guys. So, basically, what is the vision here for Harvard? Well, basically, we want to do two things. One, we want to help Harvard gain their energy independence. I know that if you think about what is going on right now, we basically are at the will of ComEd, right? It's essentially what feels like a monopoly. They can raise rates, they can do kind of whatever they want. It's not like you're not going to pay your energy bill, right? So that's one thing that gaining energy independence that's very, I guess, satisfying and just feels good and what people are really attracted to. The second thing is you want to, like I said, be spending less money sending it to ComEd. This is more money to be spent within Harvard, because if you guys look at your books at the end of every month, you're going to see that expense. It's paying the energy bill, That's money that you're never going to see again. So with this, it's something that you actually are gaining an asset to your business. So, and you're not sending that out, and the amount of good that you can do within the town, within the community with that money that's being saved is a really big deal. So what exactly is a disadvantaged community? Well, the U.S. Department of Agriculture identified Harvard as a disadvantaged community because of three factors, each that have specific different thresholds that we're going to go over here real quickly. The following areas are covered. So you've got housing, you've got transportation, and then you've got water and wastewater. Now, I know you guys have had a big overhaul kind of the wastewater treatment plant. You have a lot of good things going to move yourselves out of this disadvantaged scenario, and this town's doing a lot of good things. I'm sure you guys can feel the momentum of what's happening here in Harvard. A lot of things are on the rise, and we're glad to be able to be a part of that. So let's take a look at actually Harvard here. This specific red dotted line that you see come up, this is the very specific area that qualifies for this disadvantaged area. So on top you've got the Wisconsin border, you've got Harvard down in the lower right-hand corner, and this is Brink Street actually, 173 is on the south. So you'll see that this is a very specific little box. You guys are in a very special little area that actually helps you qualify for more funding for projects like these. Very unique scenario. So all that sounds good. I know it sounds amazing, but how does this all work? You know, how can literally a commercial solar system that saves all this money, how can this possibly be free? Well, here are the handful of different pieces that go into that. So you've got the federal government that basically is assisting in two main areas. The federal government's really looking to do two things. They want to really help rural America. They also want to increase the amount of renewable energy. You hear those two things all the time. A lot of times the cities get a lot of the focus, but they're really looking to invest back into rural communities, just like Harvard. The next thing is that the state of Illinois actually has multiple different green energy targets over the course of the next couple decades that they want to hit as a state, and they are also kicking in money towards projects like yours. ComEd also doesn't want to pay for building new power plants. It's very expensive to build a new power plant. So instead what they'd rather do is find places that are further away from the source where the energy is coming from and basically build power plants called distributed generation, which is what happens when you have places that are commercial solar. They basically install the solar. Now you're producing power. That actually helps ComEd, and you're going to see in the incentives that ComEd is actually giving money back to people who are doing that for that reason. It actually really helps the grid. And then lastly here, Free Source Solar, what we do is we connect all the dots, and our whole goal is to just make this really easy and really simple for the consumer. One of the main things that I've learned in my time in solar is, and you guys can probably agree, is that people end up being interested in this concept, but they don't generally know where to go to find information. You know, you hear it maybe on different advertisements, like, and it's going green, and you're probably getting what seem to be like spam calls from people about solar, and you're just like, I don't know who you are, basically. How do I know if you're giving me good information? So that's why what you're gonna really find with us is we focus heavily on education, we focus heavily on transparency, and we've both been business owners for many years. So the fact of the matter is that we're here to help you, and we wanna keep things very straightforward, very simple. You'll actually see that that our slogan there on the bottom is solar made simple, savings made real. Those are the two things that we really bring. We bring simplicity to a complex issue, as well as bringing savings to your bottom line. So let's go into what you all came here for, other than Starlight's food, which I know is amazing. But show me the money, right? We're all business owners in here. We want to know, what is the return on investment of this kind of stuff? Because that's what we're doing with our businesses all the time. We want to know how the money works. So it's important that you understand the different pieces, like I said, to avoid any confusion. And again, we focus heavily on education. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through some of the examples as well as the different incentives, so you guys have all of the information you need, and at the end we'll definitely cover any questions that you have. So basically I'm going to pass the mic over here to Bill. He's going to start talking about some of these incentive programs and how they work.
Thank you. So, as Josh mentioned, we have several incentives, and we want to show you how each one works. And as long as you're in that grid that we showed you on the map, you're going to qualify for all of these. The first one that we talked about was the REAP grant. It's a Rural Energy for America Program grant from the USDA. This is huge. 50% of the entire cost is paid for in one check from the federal government. They give it to you it's going to arrive within the first 6 to 8 months of you having your system on, approximately. They also are giving a bunch of tax credits to incentivize business owners and even residential to go solar. So they're giving you a 30% investment tax credit because you are making an investment into this asset. You get a 10% tax credit for using domestic content. So the materials that we use, as long as they're made here in America, which we source as much as we can, you'll qualify for the additional 10%. We can also stack another 10% on for the energy community designation that Josh touched on earlier. There is one more tax credit of 10%. We're not showing it here. It's for a low-income community tax credit. We can most likely get it at the beginning of 2025, but it's not guaranteed because there's a certain amount of grant money or a certain amount of that tax credit that they offer, and then once it's filled, it's no longer available. So we don't want to promise it, but it is an option. So that could be another bonus 10% that we can find for you. This is a big one. The state has these things called SRECs. They're solar renewable energy certificates. So what they're doing is the state of Illinois, since we don't have as much sunshine as California or Colorado or Florida, they need to incentivize businesses to go solar here. And so at the bottom of your ComEd bill, there's a line item that takes some money from every single person in ComEd every month based on how much you use, and they put it into this program. And they buy these solar renewable energy certificates from you, and they give you cash for them. The way it's paid out is they pay you from year 2 to 7 in quarterly payments, and it's quite a deal. They keep paying you, and it's basically based on the production of your system. The last one is the DG rebate. It's called Distributed Generation Rebate, and that is a check that you get from ComEd. Again, Josh touched on this before. It's super expensive for them to build a power plant or even send power all the way out to rural America from a generation plant. There's a lot of loss in the line when they send electricity through it. When you go by a high transmission power line, you hear the buzzing. That's resistance. That's electricity going off the wire. So what they put into the wire does not always, will not end up the same amount at the end of the wire. So they have this rebate saying, we would prefer you build your own power plant on your roof. And that's distributed generation. So the REAP grant is a competitive grant, and they give points to everything. A project earns points based on a checklist of these parameters, and we've gone through it. It's very transparent. But the largest chunk of points is being in a distressed or disadvantaged community, and we are. That is the big difference maker here that we want to stress. And in fact, we just had a call, so the REAP grant gets modified every quarter, basically. We have a grant writer that works directly with the USDA, and he was we did a conference call with him recently to get the latest updates, and he basically was telling us all of rural America qualifies for the REAP grant, but unless you have these bonus 15 points for being in a disadvantaged community, you're not going to get awarded the grant. So it's super important that we're in this area here and take advantage of this, because you will qualify for that extra 15 points. Our grant writer also has never seen a grant not get approved that's in this distressed or disadvantaged area. So you're going to go right to the front of the line and you'll get approved for this grant. And one other thing, if you don't get approved for the grant for some reason, we don't move forward unless you want to move forward still. Nothing happens if you don't get the grant. We want to make sure that we do everything in a systematic order so that we do get the grant money, we get it approved. Once we get the approval, we're approved for the next 2 years. If we use it within the next 2 years, the money's reserved for us by the federal government. So I'm going to run you through a couple scenarios here of different examples of real world businesses here downtown. And a couple of things to point out in this slideshow here is there's a lot of numbers on the screen here, so we'll go through them. And one part that we offer at FreeSource is we offer some in-house financing. So a lot of these paybacks from these incentives, they don't occur right away. So there's got to be a cash outlay to buy the system first. So we loan you the money. You pay our installers, Quality Solar, to do the installation. And then as the grant money and the incentive money comes to you and gets deposited in your checking account, you write us a check and pay off the loan that we've given you. keep it really simple. There's no loan fees. There is an interest rate, but no loan fee, and there's no qualification. So if we know we're gonna qualify you for the grants, we know the money's there and it's coming in, we just will loan you that money, and then you get cash back when it comes back to you. So in this first example I'm gonna go through here, we're gonna talk about tax credits. Tax credits are now transferable. And what does that mean? Well, 50% of the system cost is coming in a tax credit. So depending on how much profitability your business is making, you may not have the need for all these tax credits. You may want to convert them into cash, and we can do that for you as well. Right now, the market is approximately 50 cents on the dollar, and then we would represent your legal fees with that to get everything done. Make sure the contracts are all what you want and everything like that. You can use our attorney for that. Or it would be 75 cents on the dollar, and you can use your own attorney. So we have a couple different options here. The one we'll show you is more conservative here. But these tax credits, because of the Inflation Reduction Act that was out in 2022, that allowed for this transferability of these tax credits. So now a market is basically opened up where banks and other lenders they're the ones primarily buying the tax credits and giving cash 75 cents to 50 cents on the dollar to the business owner that can't use it. If you can use the tax credits, we would encourage that you do. They never expire, so you can always apply them dollar for dollar to any tax bill that you owe the government. You can use them for your annual tax bill or estimated payments. So this first example we'll go through, this is a local business here downtown, and they're not going to be selling the tax credits. They're going to be keeping them in this example, okay? They have an energy bill that's roughly $250 a month, okay? This is what this allows. The system starts out at a price of about $58,400, and the solar renewable energy certificate payments are going to be over $18,000 from the state. The tax credits are going to be just under $30,000, and that excludes the low income one that we might be able to get you a little more, but this is conservative. DG rebate from ComEd, that's $5,500 and change. And then the REAP grant, the big one, over $29,000 coming in one check from the USDA. As you can see, our total incentives here are over $82,000 on a system that's just over $58,000. The government will pay all this money and you keep the difference. After you pay us back our loan, you keep anything that's extra. So you're actually going to get paid to install solar on your business. And keep in mind, so there's a net cost here of negative $38,769 after 5 years. So we're factoring in how much you're saving on your electric bill, and then all the incentive money that comes to you, that's what you're gonna profit after 5 years. And keep in mind, these systems last 50 years plus. They're warranted between 25 and 30 years, depending on which panel we use, and that's determined by if your panel is either a 3-phase or a single-phase electrical system. Okay, there's a little difference there, but the single-phase ones are 25-year warranty, and the 3-phase ones are 30 years. And the warranties work like this. We have panel, and then behind it is an inverter that converts the energy from direct current to alternating current right behind each panel. That also gives us the ability to monitor each panel's production real time. You will have access to that, and so will we. So if at any time during your ownership of this solar system, we see that one of the panels isn't producing or the inverter has gone bad, no problem. Our manufacturer has a team specifically to come out and replace it for you at no cost. We can monitor it and be sure that you're going to get full production that we guarantee you. And the way the warranty works is they say there will be no more than 1/2 of 1% degradation of the panel production per year. So if you think about that, After 30 years, you're still producing 85% of the original power of the system at a minimum. 30 years down the road. Keep in mind, every year you're saving the ComEd bill. You're not paying them anymore, you're keeping that money in town. So let's look at this. If they were going to sell the tax credits to us, we can take their tax credits and sell them on the open market. And again, same energy bill, same price, same SREPs, but the total amount here for the tax credits that they would get is turning them into cash is going to be over $14,600. And that can be applied to their loan immediately upon turning it on. We need it about 60 days after it turns on to make sure we get all the paperwork processed to get you your check. But that would just go back to us after, assuming we were giving you the loan. You have the DG rebate and the REAP grant still. And so this incentive would be $67,700. Again, far outweighing what the system cost would be. And net cost on this after 5 years, they'd make $25,000 approximately. If we look at the bar graphs here, total cost is in the first column there. And then we look at whether they're keeping or selling the tax credits. Both of those far outweigh the cost. Look at another one here. This is a restaurant in town that's a little bit bigger, so you can kind of get an idea where you're at in the scale of things. This one has an energy bill just under $1,000 a month. And their system cost gets up to about $238,000. But everything else goes up too. The SREPs go up to $66,000. The tax credits go up to almost $120,000. The DG rebate is over $19,000, and again that REAP grant almost $120,000 by itself. Total incentives, almost $324,000 on a system that costs less than $239,000. Net cost for this business would be, they'd be making $145,000 in the first 5 years of owning the system. If they sell the tax credits, same bill, same stuff, we get the tax credits down in the beginning, approximately $60,000 for the tax credits in cash, $19,000 for the rebate, there's the grant, and again, $264,000 in incentives on a system that only costs $238,000. This customer would be saving or making close to $86,000 in the first 5 years. And again, if we look at the bar graph here, the cost is far outweighed by either scenario. The last one is kind of an ideal scenario, a grocery store. And it's quite a bit bigger system, but they use a lot of coolers and they need it. This one would have an energy bill over $4,000 a month. So our system is just under $1 million at $985,000. We have over $250,000 coming from this, the SREPs. Our tax credits are nearly $500,000, $493,000. The DG rebate is $61,500 and change, and again, the REAP grant rate of 50% is nearly $500,000 in one check. Total incentives are approaching $1.3 million in a system that costs less than $1 million. This specific business in 5 years would make over $500,000 by getting a free solar system put on the roof. And saving $52,000 every single year that this thing is in production. If he sells the tax credits, we got the same scenario. Tax credits in this one can be converted to $246,000 in change. DG rebate and the grant is still coming in, over $1 million in incentives. And we have a cost less than $1 million. So in this scenario, after you figure how much he's saving on his energy bill and all the other incentives, he's gonna make over $300,000 in this scenario where he sells the tax credit. Again, our cost, it's incentive money that we can gather for you. Now, what's coming? Well, I've been in the deregulated energy brokerage business for the past 15 years. And so what that means is I help businesses find suppliers for energy. They don't have to buy their supply from ComEd. You can buy it from another company. ComEd will always deliver your power, but you can get your supply from a different company, okay? So I've been in that business for a while. And a couple of things that people don't understand are this all-in rate, which is a supply rate on your ComEd bill. It has not only the cost of electricity, the wholesale cost from the marketplace, but we have all these ancillary charges that come from the company that manages our grid, which is PJM, okay? The one that is super important coming up is called capacity. And what is capacity? Well, capacity is PJM's way of guaranteeing that there's enough power on the grid at all times for everyone to be able to use their power, and they'll always be supplying it so there are no blackouts or brownouts. Capacity is tricky because we don't use our power consistently. All of us use our power kind of the same way, and it creates a bell curve throughout the day. When we're all using our power when the sun's out and running our air conditionings in the summer, that peaks in the late afternoon and then it comes back down at night. So how do they supply that top portion of that power, that peak demand power? They have to have power plants basically sitting on the sidelines until they're needed. And then they turn them on and they supply that extra power. That is capacity. Now, if I own a power plant, I have to bid. PJM asks me once a year, what can we pay you to be sitting on the sidelines until we need you? How much are you going to charge us to sit on the sidelines, and then how much you want for the peak power? Well, right now, you can see we're the dotted line here. We've been following a pretty good curve here for the last couple of years. We're way down here right now. We're at $29, $28 per megawatt day right now. The auction for the capacity pricing was just completed recently. And next year, it's going to be $270. That's a 930% increase in that cost. Guaranteed coming for everybody in China 3 too. So that'll equate to about 1 penny per kilowatt hour increase in every person's bill, every business's bill. It's coming guaranteed. So that's capacity, that's that. This one up here is called Renewable Portfolio Standard, and that is where they get the incentive money for these programs, the SRECs and such. If you look at your ComEd bill now, there are 5 line items in the bottom section of your bill that are all going towards energy efficiency, carbon neutral, and renewable portfolio standard charges. All these charges are based on usage. Usage that you get from ComEd. So part of every kilowatt you buy from them are these charges. So if we can offset what you use from ComEd, if you're producing your own power, you no longer pay any of those bills. You don't pay any of those charges. So it's a great way to get double benefit. You're producing your own power at a fixed cost. Your cost will never change now. You've got a power plant on your roof producing your own power. So you've bought your power for the next 30 years basically, and you don't have to worry about what happens with this marketplace that ComEd is in. This is coming in June, and it's guaranteed. We don't know where it's going the year after, but this will be in place from June of 25 to May of 26. As I said, I've been in the deregulated energy market for quite some time. One of my biggest suppliers is a company called NRG. They're a major supplier in the United States. They work across the whole country. And they had a webinar recently, and they were talking about not only where we're at today, but what is the forward pricing projection? What do they look like in ComEd? And you can see on the bottom line, this is like this is a yearly average index. So the index is moving every day. It's measured every 15 minutes. And they average it out, what was the cost for this power over this time frame. You can see back in 2016, it was about $29, $30, $36, $27, $21, not bad. 2021, we get to $39. 2022 was an anomaly. That was the war in Ukraine breaking out, the Nord Stream pipelines that supply gas to Europe from Russia. They were bombed and sabotaged. So a lot of things happened in that year. The pricing went through the roof. ComEd's rate was nearly 13 cents just for supply. 2023 here, we're down back to normal rates, 33. This year, we're at about 41 right now, current year. Where's it going? 45, 49, 50, and 50. What do we see here in the next couple of years? Is a 25% increase in the cost of electricity. Now I'm talking about this, the wholesale cost, going up 25% in the next 5 years. Keep in mind, this is going up independent of that cost. So you've got a lot of costs coming. If you're gonna stay with ComEd, guaranteed your rate's going up and it's not gonna be pretty. I price deals all the time for my customers. If someone's at approximately 7 cents today, in 3 to 4 years, our pricing is at 10 cents. So you're looking at in reality, in the supply portion, could be as much as a 50% increase in the next couple of years. Those are guaranteed to happen, and this is a way in the solar world that we look at saying, hey, if you can produce your own power, get off of their system, you gain your energy independence. It's a big deal for us. Giving you pure energy independence from ComEd. You're no longer subject to what they're doing in their markets. You have your own power plant on your roof. So I hope that all made sense. I'm going to pass it back to Josh here, and he's going to cover a few more things and wrap this up for you.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a lot of numbers. It's a lot going on there on a handful of slides, right? A lot of numbers, a lot of details, but the fact of the matter is most people end up not looking at their utility bill. They just pay it month after month, but what you're gonna see is it's just gonna continue to increase. That's exactly all the reasons why it's gonna increase. Like we mentioned, really like to focus on education, people understanding what's going on, why it's important. Those are the biggest choices whenever you're getting into a decision on any type of investment, is really understanding how things work. That's why we wanted to go into some depth there on some real issues that are coming, things that have happened, and what to expect in the future. So again, why Harvard specifically? Just kind of a recap a little bit here. Again, Harvard qualifies for literally everything. I mean, it's this unique little box on the map. There's only a couple of them in all of the state of Illinois, Harvard being one of them, that matches that significant, all those different significant grants. So why use free source solar? Well, again, solar education. We're here to help you guys and show you how it works, as well as we have a turnkey process. Bill mentioned a little bit of the financing aspect of things. We really have dialed in on how to make this easy for you, as well as help you have nothing out of pocket, literally making these solar systems free to business owners. With all these incentives and with the pieces that we've put together, we've really just created this system that's in your benefit. So why act now? Well, essentially the grant money changes all the time, right? It changes quarter by quarter, year after year, and right now there are 3 different times of the year where you can get your application in. There's no cost to apply and figure out if they're going to award you this grant money. Again, what Bill mentioned is that our grant writer, for all of the grants he's ever written, when you get those extra points for being in a distressed or a disadvantaged area, you're basically a shoo-in for this grant. He's never seen one that has not been approved. So zooming out a little bit, just kind of taking a little more of the 30,000 foot view here. When you save money in your business, what does that really mean? Because we're talking a lot about community and Harvard being on the rise. There's all these good vibes happening here with this community, really taking some positive steps in a lot of different directions. Well, let's take a quick look at a couple streets here and a few different businesses. When these businesses are saving, you've got $300 here, you've got $1,500 here, $400 down here, $4,000 up here. If all of these people were literally just getting a free system, all this money is now back into their business. It's cash flow that's just moving in. It's not going out that they're never going to see again. And this is month after month after month. You can imagine the positive effects that would happen to the town as a whole, where literally in multiple ways Harvard wins. So one important piece of the puzzle as well is just understanding the process now. So we're kind of getting just to the closing pieces here. So how does all this work? Like, what is really the process? Well, step one, some of you in here, we've already created a proposal for you. We've taken a look at your utility bill, because the way that it works is we want to figure out what type of system or what size of system do you need to create the amount of energy that you're currently using. Everyone has a different roof a lot of times. Most people in here in businesses all have a nice flat roof. They're very easy to install on. About the install, we don't put any penetrations into the roof. You don't have to worry about leaks, anything like that. There's no screws going into the roof. They're what they're called ballasted systems, which simply means that they're basically on a structure that is held down by weights, and those weights hold everything in place, and there's no actual penetration on the roof. And these things have been wind tested, weather tested, snow tested, all approved. So step two is to apply for the REAP grant. So we help you do this. Again, we want to make things as simple as possible. It only happens 3 times a year, so the important part here is December 31st is the upcoming guideline. So a lot of times, like we had mentioned, these grants are getting more and more competitive. As more and more people are learning, just like you guys are right now. More and more people are applying for these things. So it's important to get into this stuff early, because the money right now is just sitting there. It will be applied for 3 times over the course of the next year, but getting in there early will make a big difference. We will find out whether or not the application has been approved 3 months after that December 31st guideline, and at that point is when we would say, your project's ready to move forward, you've been awarded the grant, the money all works out, and that's kind of the process here. So really we're here to help you start that process. Step 3 is when the REAP grant is awarded, the project starts. So that means the site survey, permits, installation, and then inspection. That whole process only takes about 2 months. So really it's just waiting to see if that money is coming in. Then we go through these processes of checking out the roof, making sure that we get all the right measurements that are needed, and then actually doing the installation. Step 4 is the project's complete. You start saving money, and solar energy becomes something that you guys are actually utilizing to run your businesses. You've kicked ComEd out the door, basically. You're not paying them anymore. And with that, you now have an asset that's on your roof. It's something that, which is kind of crazy, right? Let's just kind of step back from that. You now have an asset that has basically been free to you. It has increased the amount of value on your property, because this is something that's going to kick out energy for the next 30 plus years. It's free to you, it's saving you money. Like, all of these things don't seem like they should be able to work in tandem, but literally there's that many incentives that is literally how it works. So, what are your next steps? Well, as I just mentioned, timing is super important. Like I said, it's only 3 times a year that these grants are taken into consideration. December 31st is the next opportunity. So it's really important that we start that process just to see if you guys can get approved. And as we mentioned before, in a distressed area, you get those extra points for the grant, and we've never seen that not happen. So as Harvard improves, eventually they won't get as many bonus points on the application. So let's fast forward a little bit. A handful of businesses start getting these grants. I know that you guys have big things going on with the wastewater treatment plant, things like that. The city may look to get involved, have things be going green there as well. There are multiple different aspects that can lift you guys out of this distressed area, and at that point, should you apply for the grant, now you no longer have those points, and now it's going to be a more competitive market. It's going to be harder for you to get that grant. So again, timing is very important, and that's the real goal here. Let's get Harvard out of this distressed area. That's what we're here to help you guys do, is let's get out of that. So it's kind of a first come, first served basis on that aspect. So the last thing are the solar renewable energy certificates. There's only a limited amount given every 12 months. And then come the middle of the summer, they'll re-up those again, and then there'll be a new pool to draw from. Right now, there are plenty of them just sitting there waiting to be utilized. But what will happen, what happened last year, the year before, is that gradually the pool will run out. You'll end up on a wait list. Then that wait list, come June, that will be filled first. Then the new credit or the new certificates get issued after that wait list is filled, and it just is a longer process. They will continue to add money to that pool, but it's just better to get it filled in rather than be on the wait list and have to wait another 3 to 6 months for that money to come in from the state. So let us show you how much money we can save your business. So we're going to just pass out kind of a couple, like a real brief survey type handout. And it's just going to ask you, like, how interested are you in this type of stuff? We want to basically start the process with you so that we can get you some accurate numbers. What you've seen now are actual proposals, things that are happening here in the community and the numbers that are out there. But every business is a little bit different. Everyone has different needs. Some people may need a roof done. That may need to be factored into the equation. So all of these different pieces, we just want to put one foot in front of the other and get the process started sooner rather than later. Again, we're free source solar. Solar made simple, savings made real, and that's the end. So we'll pass out those sheets now, and we'll go from there.